Welcome to Sotantra education. In this lecture, we are going to discuss about the concept of inheritance. So let us assume we have a class and the name of the class is person and it has two members, or we can say two instance variables. One is name of type string, another one is age of type int. So we can create objects using this class person. Now consider we have another class employee, and here the employee has three instance variables. One is name of type string, another one is age of type int, another one is salary of type int. So here we are writing the class person and the class employee. Now here you can observe there is some relation between the employee class and the person class. So here the name and age are there in the person class, and here also the name and age are there in the employee class. That means the instance variables are repeated here, and we can say the relation between employee and person is like EJ. So every employee is a person. So instead of writing this class employee from scratch and rewriting the instance variables like name, age, we can reuse this class person and omit the instance variables here. Similarly, if some methods are written here, we can omit the methods. So how to reuse this person class in employee class so that we can omit these instance variables that are written here. We can derive the employee class from the person class so that instead of writing the employee class from scratch, we can reuse the person class in the employee class. Then how to derive? So we can derive the employee class from the person class using this keyword extends. So here we have written, so class employee extends person. That means employee class is derived from the person class. So here we can say this class as the derived class, or we can say this class is the subclass, and here person class is the base class. That means from person class we are deriving employee class, or we can say this class is the super class. That means the person class is the super class, or we can say this person class is the parent class, and the employee class here is the children class or child class. So just write child here. So here employee class is the child class or derived class or subclass we can say, and person class is the base class, super class and parent class we can say. And here the employee class is derived from the person class, and so that we are not writing the instance variables name and age here in the employee class. So we are writing only the salary. Why? Now because the salary was not written here in the person class. Now you can see we are not writing the name and age here in the employee class, but from the employee class we can access the name and age as if we have written this name and age in the employee class. So we can see the pictorial representation like this. So consider this is the person class. So assume this is the person class, and it has the data members like instance variables and methods. Now we have here another class, that is the employee class. So it is employee class, and here also some we can write some data members, additional data members, and some method also we can add here. Now if we write or if we represent this derivation or inheritance, we can say this derivation is called as inheritance. So here you can observe this arrow, that means the employee class, from employee class we can access the person class, or one object of employee class can access the members of the person class, but the reverse is not true. So you cannot write like this, because the object of person class cannot access the data members of employee class, because the base class has no idea about the members of the employee class or the additional members that have written here in the employee class. So the arrow mark is like this, that means the from the employee class we can access the members of the person class, and this concept is called as inheritance. So if we derive one class from another class, instead of writing that class from scratch, then this derivation of the class or the reuse of the code is called as inheritance here, or inheritance in programming language. Now we will see the implementation of it and write a program on the concept of inheritance. Okay, now let us write a program using the concept of inheritance. That means we derive one class from another class. So let us write the program. So assume we have a class person, and the attributes are name, and another one is age. Now we have one method, so assume display person. The name of the method is display person. So here you can write system.out.println, then person details, okay, then we can write here the value of name and the value of age. So we can write here name, and here we can write age. Okay, now here you can initialize the name and age like this. Suppose name is unknown and age you can take any value, suppose 30. Now assume this is all about the person class. Now let us write the employee class. Class employee extends person, and here in the employee class we can write int salary, and you can write here salary is equal to suppose. Now here we can add one method void display employee. We can write employee. So here okay, so we can just write println employee details, employee details, then simply we can write here name, here we can write age, here we can write salary. So here you can observe in the employee class we are not writing the instance variables like name, age, but here we are printing or using the name and age an instance variable. We are not explicitly writing these name and age, but in the println, inside println we are writing name and age. That means instead of writing this here in the employee class, we can access this name and age of the person class, because employee is a derived class of the person class. That's why we have written here extends. Now come to the driver class. So for that we are writing class test, then here we write the main method, void main, then string, so it is capital S, string arguments, then we can simply write person p equal to new person, that means create one object of person class, then we can write p dot display person. Similarly we can create one object of employee class, so we can write employee e equal to new employee, then we can write e dot display employee. Okay, now save this program and execute. Okay, successfully compiled, no error. Then write Java test. So here you can see person details unknown 30 and employee details unknown 9,999. So this one is displaying for the display method or for the display person method, and these things are displaying for the display employee method. So here you can observe. So this part is display employee method and this part is display person method. So I hope this one is clear. Now instead of taking this values name and age like this, we can use the concept of constructor, that is already we have discussed. So here we can write like this. So take a constructor, here assume person, and so you can write name equal to Raju, and here we can write age equal to suppose 30. Okay. So similarly here also we can use the constructor. So instead of directly initializing this, employee, and we can write here name equal to Rani, suppose age equal to 25 and salary equal to 9,999. Okay, now using this constructor or using this modification only, try to execute this program, and the rest are as it was, or the rest of the code we are not changing. So just compile, no error. So here you can see person details Raju and 30, and employee details Rani 9,999. So here this one display employee method prints the name of the employee, that is Rani 25 and the salary, and here the display person prints the details of the person, like this one person details, name and age. So for this name Raju gets printed, and for age 30 gets printed. So here you can observe that thing, that here we are not explicitly defining the instance variable name age, but we are using this name and age instance variables as if that we are defined here in the employee class, but instead as we are deriving the employee class from the person class, we are able to assess the instance variables of the person class from the employee class. Okay, so now here instead of this no argument constructors, we can use the parameterized constructor. So now we will see the use of parameterized constructor here in inheritance. Now suppose this constructor person is a parameterized constructor, so like this we can write string name, then int age. So here we can modify this dot name equal to, in place of Raju we can write name. Similarly here this dot age, in place of 30 we can write the parameter value age. So similarly for the employee class we can write, just copy this thing, then int salary. So here we can write this dot name equal to the parameter name, this dot age equal to the parameter age, and this dot salary equal to the parameter salary. Okay, and the display employee, the display person method we are not changing. So all the codes. Okay, so here instead of this new person we can pass the argument like Raju and 30. Here we can pass the argument like Rani 25, then 4 number of 9s. So we will execute now javac test dot java. So it is going to throw an error. Why the error is coming? So here you can observe in this method or in this constructor, in the derived class constructor, if you do not call the base class constructor explicitly, then Java is going to call the base class constructor, or we can say Java is going to call the super class constructor from the subclass. So here Java is going to call like this, super. So this statement is for invoking the super class constructor, or you can say from the child class constructor, if we do not call explicitly the parent class constructor, Java is going to call the parent class constructor and it is going to add this statement by default. So if we remove this one, or our code was like this, that's why Java was writing this on behalf of us and calling the super class constructor. So here you can observe this invocation of the super class constructor does not have any argument, but here in the super class constructor we are writing some argument, or it is a parameterized constructor. That's why there is a type mismatch. So the error is coming. So here you can see actual and formal argument list differ in length. So how to resolve this issue? So simply you can add one super class constructor like this. So assume it is empty one. So simply we are writing person. So it is capital P. Okay. So if you write this one, then when Java writes this statement for us or on behalf of us, then this one gets called or this one gets executed, this empty statement. So let us check now. Okay, no error. Then it is showing person details like Raju 30, Rani 25, 9,999. Another way to resolve this one is we can omit this one or we can remove this one, and here in the super calling we can write, or we can explicitly call the super class constructor and pass the values name and age. And if we write like this, then no need to write this name equal to name, this dot age equal to age, because by calling or by invoking the super class constructor we are initializing that. So no need to write that one here again, and just call the or just execute the program. No error. So it is showing the person Raju 30, person details Raju 30, employee details Rani 25, 9,990. So as expected we are getting the result. Now we want to discuss another concept about the constructors in inheritance. So for example, we have the class person, and instead of initializing this, so simply we are writing as system dot out dot println. Simply we are printing a statement inside person class constructor. Okay. Now so forget about this void display person. Similarly, in the employee, we can just write only one statement in the constructor. So just copy this one. So inside this we can write employee class constructor, and we can remove this display employee method. Now we can add another subclass from the employee class. So assume class manager extends employee, and here we are writing the constructor like this. Inside manager class constructor we can write inside manager class constructor. Now in the class test, simple, create one object of manager class, manager m equal to new manager. Okay, so the program is like this. You can see here we have a class person, and in the person class constructor we are just printing inside person class constructor. Then we have another class employee, that is a subclass of person class, and so we can remove this instance variable also. The instance variable has no role. Okay, we can omit this one. Now in the employee class constructor we can write, or we are printing a statement inside employee class constructor. Now similarly we have another class manager, that is a subclass of employee. Now in the manager class constructor we are simply printing one line inside manager class constructor. Then in the class test, or we can say in the driver class, we have main method, and we are creating one object of manager class. Now we will see what will be the output. Okay, successfully compiled, no error. So it is showing inside person class constructor, inside employee class constructor, inside manager class constructor. So why so? Because when we want to create one object of manager class, then this constructor by default gets called. Now when this constructor gets called, the first statement of this line is super, like this. So if we do not write this, then Java is going to write this on behalf of us. That means it is calling its super class constructor. Now here the employee class is the super class of manager class. Now this constructor gets executed or gets called. So inside this constructor Java is going to write this statement on behalf of us, because we are not explicitly calling the super class constructor of the employee class. Now for this statement, this constructor gets executed, and here in the person class also it can write this one super class constructor, and we can say the person, in this example the person is the super class and it is not a subclass of any class except object class, because we know that object class is the super class of all classes. So except the object class, the person class is not derived from any other class. Or we can say the super class of the person class is the object class only, but here the super class of the employee class is the person class, the super class of manager class is employee class, like this. So first this inside person class constructor gets executed, then inside employee class constructor gets executed, then this one gets executed. So let us check whether it is showing this one. If we write explicitly super, okay, no issues. So inside person class constructor, inside employee class constructor, inside manager class constructor. So the same thing we are getting in the output. So if you do not call explicitly the super class constructor, then Java is going to call the super class constructor for us. That's why we are getting the result like this. So first this statement gets executed, then this one, then this one. Or we can say when multi-level inheritance is there, then the first the constructor of the super class gets executed, then the next subclass, then the next subclass, like this. So from this example you can see when we want to create one object of the manager class, so the inside manager class constructor going to be executed at last, or this statement gets printed at last. Now here instead of the manager class, if we write this one as employee M equal to new employee, you can write here. So we want to create one object of the employee class. So now let us check what will be the output here. Okay, so there is a spelling mistake, employee. Okay, no error. Then if we execute inside person class, inside employee class. Now when we want to call, or when we want to create one object of the employee class, then in the employee class constructor, first this statement gets executed. If you write this one, then it is fine, otherwise Java is going to write this statement if we do not explicitly call the super class constructor. Now the employee class is a derived class of the person class, so first the person class constructor gets executed, then the constructor of the gets executed. So this concept is also called as constructor chaining.